Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back or welcome to another Bangs audio review. So I woke up this morning and literally the first thing I did is I got myself a cup of coffee, got the dogs outside, came downstairs and put the Sivga UTG in my ears, and again blown away. So, yeah, I don't know. If I looked at the graph on these before I, got them, I probably would have been like, not really sure. I get that. The graph it graphs kind of funky. It does. Doesn't matter. Okay, you don't listen to a graph. You listen with your ears. And my impressions of this they've stayed the same since I put them in and listened to the first couple of songs. This is something special. This is something different. This is something that I've not heard before, and it's something I personally really, really enjoy. So, again, thank you to, I wish I remember who first recommended it, but somebody or brought it up. They're like, what was it, the OG Q or was it the UTG? And I was like, UTG? What the? Anyway, one thing leads to another in this hobby, as you guys all know. And, well, here it is. So, Sivga Q UTG is today's offering. And I gotta tell you, I mean, listen, I have not seen the review from Audio Amigo yet, and I am gonna watch it because I'd like to hear exactly what he has to say about this set. I don't do that before I do reviews. I don't want to have any preconceptions of a set before I put it in my ears. That's just how I do things. So, at some point, I will probably do a short addressing his review and his opinion, but right now we're talking about my opinion and my impression of this set, and it's something. I'll say that. So, quick unboxing specs. We'll get that out of the way before we get to the good stuff. It is a 10. Is it 10 millimeter? Yes, 10 millimeter glass panel dynamic driver, or glass panel diaphragm driver. So single magnet, dual cavity, zinc alloy on your chamber, and then you've got the green sandalwood on the faceplate. The cable is good. It's kind of standard. It's modular, which is nice, but I wish they'd stayed with the original Q cable and just made that modular, because I love that cable. That cable is still in use whenever I need it. It's in here. It's in my measurement equipment. There it is. So I love the heck out of that cable. I just wish it had been modular. And then it was modular on another set, but didn't have a chin slider. And then finally, I think somebody got it right. I've got that somewhere. So anyway, your resistance or impedance is 32 ohms. That definitely tracks. This thing has to have some power to get up and go. Sensitivity of 103 decibels, frequency range of saying 20 to 20K, obviously. And they're not light, but they're not super heavy either. I love actually the feel of them. And, as you might imagine, very similar to the original Q, just a different color on the faceplate, that green South American sandalwood, which is pretty freaking gorgeous, honestly, if you can see that. Yeah, so build fit, very, very good. They're comfy. I've tried a range of ear tips on them. I ended up back with the SS20s, the easy tips, because I liked the wider bore. Despite the energy that you see in the treble, I actually think that the overall balance of the set is better with the wider bore tips on it than, I didn't really care for the final Type E, and Divinus Velvet were working just fine. But I kind of like the SS20s on these. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I'll show you the cable. The cable is okay. Like I said, modular. Comes with 3.5 and 4.4. What else is in the box here? I'll get that done. Box is similar in size and shape to the original Q, but doesn't have that pretty bird on it. That bird being the Q, I'm guessing. Because they seemed like they named most of their sets after birds, which is kind of cool. IMs anyway. So I did see something on AliExpress. There's a Magpie UTG apparently coming. Interestingly, piqued my interest. Case came in here with cable, ear tips here, yeah, and then there. Where did I put the ear tips for these? Not in there apparently. Maybe I put them in here. Yeah. So standard silicone, normal bore, standard silicone, wider bore, and there you go. A couple of sets of ear tips, paperwork, etc. Nothing really like that exciting in the unboxing, but I do like the accessories in general. You know, overall, I think they're nice. But particularly the case is just super nice. I really like the Sivga cases. They don't chintz on that. So sub $100 IAM. It's around 90, I believe, for this. Could get it on. I think you can get it on sale for under 80 at times. Well accessorized for the price point, and despite the cable being just a little bit subpar compared to the original cable, it's okay. You know, fine. Fine. So, anyway, build, fit, comfort level, all great. You can wear these without any fatigue. I think they'd fit in most ears. You know, they're not tiny shells, but they're not gigantic either, and no hard edges, just really kind of nice fit, comfortable fit, for sure. Not top tier noise isolation, but good enough. If you got the volume up, if I had the volume down, I was able to hear things fairly clearly. So it's not going to be a super good noise canceling set. Obviously, it doesn't have ANC because it's a wired set, but it does a decent job. I'm just saying, if you want to really drown the world out, then you got to turn the volume up. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay, enough screwing around. Let's get to the nitty gritty here, guys. I have the graphs up of both the original Q and the Q UTG. I'll take one out at a time so we can take a look at each one. Take the UTG out. So here's the original Q. Nice balance. You know, it's got that nice mid-bass presence to it. Some slightly warm mids, not too recessed, reasonable ear gain energy, and a nice amount of treble with a little dip around sibilance, and then comes back up to give it a little sparkle and shine. That's a beryllium plated 10mm dynamic driver on the original, and I thought, you know, for a $70 set, really solid, really good set. You know, there's not a lot of sub bass there. That roll off may be the only complaint that I have on the original Sivga Q. Now, we bring in the UTG, and this graph goes a little bit haywire. So, like I said, if I just looked at this, I don't know if I would have picked it up, you know, because it's kind of wacky. You can see that the ear gain especially is really low key, but then swings up in the lower treble, and then you've got some peaks and valleys going through here. I don't know if this is a function of the driver, that flat glass panel coming into play, as to how it was tuned. Like maybe this is just kind of what it needs to do to sound right. Possibly, I don't know. I'm not a sound engineer. What I can tell you is there almost seems to be more bass in this set than there is in the original. That the mids are clear and warm and nice, and that I think most importantly, the thing that I'm going to say is that the vocals are not recessed. So I'm just gonna say that. That's not my experience with this set. They did not sound recessed to me. Placement wise, a little different, yes, okay, but to me recessed means that they're pulled back to the point where you can't hear them properly. Like they don't sound right. They sound like hollow or distant, something like that, or covered, right? No. Okay, all right, let's take a break from the graph here. Let's go back, see if I can bring Cobuzz. I can tell you guys the singers that I tested this out on, and now one of them, with the exception of Adele and Rolling in the Deep, and that track, her vocals are, there's a lot of reverb on them, and they're back in the mix already because she belts like nobody else. So on purpose, they're back in the mix. The mix, whoever did the mix, did that because when the song starts to ramp up and she starts to belt, she doesn't overtake everything else. Okay, so that was the only, and that was the only singer and song that I was like, oh, it sounds a little recessed. And I was like, yeah, that's because it is. That's because that's the way they mixed it. Okay, so Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, Pink, Rihanna, Courtney LaPlante, Anna Trebko, whoever you want, female singer wise, like the girl from the Fat Rat. Oh, she's got a great voice. Clear as a bell. Okay, so I'm not saying he's wrong because I don't like to I'm not going to denigrate anybody. I'm just wondering if it was more of what he was listening to, Audio Amigo that is, than it was the actual set, because then we get into male vocals and you've got Vessel, you've got Maynard, you've got dude from Bleed From Within. Who else? Who else did I listen to? Oh yeah, a singer from Mastodon. Guys, vocals are fine. Let's talk about this a little bit more. So, see where my finger is, right? Sometimes your vocals are right here, right? They're kind of like front and center, but out in front of you. These are definitely more back against like your eyeballs and your sinuses, but they're not like back behind your ears. Like they still feel front and center. They're just kind of close. And they also like are very atmospheric. So if the mix has got them going from channel to channel and kind of swirling around and they elevate, like you get all of that immersion. Or if they're just front and center, like with Melody Gardot and If You Love Me, then it's right in front center, like she's sitting on your lap. So I don't see the recessed part of it, unless my definition of recessed is different from his or somebody else's. They're not covered. They're not behind you. They're not masked. They're not distant. They're, in my opinion, they're right where they should be. Maybe they're not as out here, right, as some sets get. That's okay. That's all right. What's interesting about this glass panel driver is the division between the channels is really easy to get, and the fact that you get that sort of like it's going, you can hear it going out, but then you also get the full sort of 3D holographic effect going on. Okay, that to me is just, it's a thing of beauty. It really is. And I don't hear it in a lot of sets in this way. In fact, I think that this might be the only set that I've actually heard this kind of soundstage. And this is where I'm going to struggle with words because I don't really know how to describe it. It doesn't sound like it comes from Earth C-137. It's really, really interesting. The other part of this is that your detail, freaks are going to go nuts because there's like nothing that you can't hear. The set is so transparent. And then the other part of it is that I'm like, with the bass, come on, like this, it shouldn't be as powerful as it is. It shouldn't have as much presence. I mean, yeah, there's a hump, but to me, it sounds more like the hump is up here. It's on the SPL. Like it's closer to up, like, upper 80s than it is low to mid 80s. I mean, it hits you. It's very authoritative bass in the mid bass. And yes, just like the original Sivga Q, it rolls off in the sub bass. And that's my only complaint about this set. It offers you a different feel. It's a different experience. It's a really mesmerizing experience. And yes, if you're trouble sensitive, again, it's probably going to be a bit too much. But I don't. It's got that sort of crystalline, like yeah, that's the best. It's got that sort of crystalline, like cascading kind of treble going on. So even though there's a lot of energy there, it doesn't feel piercing as much as it probably looks. Again, this is the thing. If you just look at a graph, you're not hearing what it is. If you're just going, oh, that looks weird, I don't think I'm going to like that. Okay, you might be missing out. That's all I'm saying. Um, would I call this a set? Like for everybody? No, probably not. It's not for certainly not a good set for like people just getting into the hobby. But for me, it provides something enough of a difference and enough of an experience that I just can't help but love the thing. I mean, it's really unique. It's really different, and I think it's really well done. Now, could it be better? Sure. Could they work on some things? Absolutely. And I think they probably will. I wonder if they've done that with the Magpie, which is going to retail for looks like around 150. And I don't know if this is like a situation where you're going to be able to utilize glass panel in a hybrid configuration, because this is like definitely a full range, full frequency range driver. I don't know if there's a way to effectively limit that to put BAs, or to put, maybe if you just used a DD with it, perhaps maybe like a straight dynamic driver. That would be interesting. Uh, but I don't know. What I do know is that this is kind of the beginning of a new technology, and we don't see that a ton. Um, they're going out and trying something new. Um, these flat panel drivers, obviously, planar magnetics are flat panel, but these flat glass panel drivers have been mainly in like wall speakers, like hidden speakers or speakers. I think I've got flat panels up in my T series CAFs upstairs. So it's a new thing to try, and I'm really just so happy that they tried it. And I think they did a really cool thing with it. Like I agree. Like you know if this already scares you, maybe you should just pass. You know, but if you're feeling a little adventurous, which I have been recently, for sure, um, I think it's a way to. I think it's a way to sort of just like it kind of blows. It kind of blows your mind. It blew mine. Like I was kind of like, whoa, I've never heard a presentation like this before. It's got a ton of detail. It's got really nice amount of bass to it. And I did not experience recessed vocals unless the vocals were already recessed in the mix. And that's where I'm going to leave it, guys. I mean, does it get my highest rating? Is it a highly recommended? No, probably not. It's a recommended if you want to try something different, off the beaten path, a new technology, something that's exciting, if not super smooth. It's certainly exciting. And you will hear your music in a different way than you've heard it before. And unless you're strictly a Harman or strictly a Meta or strictly an old school kind of, like, if that's your jam, probably isn't going to work very well for you. But like I said, if you have an open mind about it and you want to try something that's new and different, this is a really cool thing to try. And it's not a horrible asking price either. If this were $200 or $300, I'd be like, eh, that's a bit much. But at its price point, for what it offers, I think it's a really, really cool set. So there you go. Take it for what take it for what you will. You guys know I can be a little bit off the beaten path with my opinions sometimes, and I'm not doing it just to be different. I'm just giving you how I honestly reacted to this set, which is what I try to do every time. So, all right. Be careful, be safe, be nice. Love y'all. Nothing but peace to ya. And until next time, we'll see ya.